Bonjour, Willkommen. Welcome to the selection table with me, Pommy and Oz, on the Pommy and Oz show. To my left, I am joined by the very positive, the always happy, Ian from the Navy Blue corner. Ian, how are we?
Yeah, very good, Pom. Couple of wins for Carlton. We'll see what happens this week, but it's a lot nicer to be a bit more maybe positive on things come team selection. I feel like we're not at this point where we're trying to fix all the problems and just hoping for the best. It's a little bit maybe more measured now. It's not too bad.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. And just beneath yourself, we're talking about positivity. We've got positivity personified, the fantasy legend himself, the Tony Lockett of the mythical game. Lekdog, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, Pommy. 2 good weeks in a row from the boys. Exciting stuff. And we get an easy win over in Freo, which is going to be quite nice this week. So it's just a shame Jack Newnes won't be playing for us.
You've sold it to me, Lekdog. And returning to the panel after a couple of weeks sabbatical, the icon, the godfather of social media, YouTube channels, the legend, my co-host, my co-partner in everything, Mr. Terry Degani from Blue Abroad. How are we?
We are well. We are well. Lekdog, we don't need Jack Newnes, mate. It's Blake Acres after the siren this week.
Don't mind it. Don't mind it.
Yeah.
The Blakers. Well, obviously we had a game last week and we don't often do this. It feels like it's been ages, even though we did it last week. A win. So I'll start with you, Ian. And chat, let me know what your issues were. Gold Coast. I mean, Hawthorn it was. That's a typo, but that is the Hawthorn side. We beat them. From a selection point of view, was there anything you saw, Ian, when you're doing your team selection this week that you were disappointed with or you thought you could have seen more out?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think given the injuries that we clearly had to the ruck department, there wasn't a lot that we could have done there. And as much as it wasn't amazing, maybe with like a Lewis Young having to be the main ruck, we probably couldn't have done much else. So I don't really want to blame them too much for him and Sauce coming into it there. And Sauce had a really good game in the ruck. I think there was probably 2 things, but if you've watched this show enough, you probably know what I'm going to say. One of those is the Ed Kerno selection. Don't really understand it, particularly with it being a bit more of a winger in Cottrell being out. And then as not really playing Ed too much on the wing. He played a little bit there, a little bit half forward. Thought Binns was the obvious choice. Didn't really happen. And then Hewitt the sub. Don't really like my big body midfielders being the sub. And I didn't really feel like, even though he didn't need it, Hewitt had a massive impact off that sub sort of bench part there. I thought we could have used maybe someone else for a bit more high impact forward of the ball. But honestly, apart from that, like you look at the forward line and the way Cunningham, and Martin and Fogarty are playing down there at the moment. It's opening such a different dynamic for us, the way we're moving the ball and everything to go with that. And yeah, 2 games of it, 2 wins, looking pretty good.
I'll ask you the question as well that I think's on everyone's lips, and we'll go through with everyone on this one. And chat, you let me know. Young and JSauce, obviously we got absolutely peppered in the hit-outs, but we won the clearance. Is that proof, do you think, that rucks might be the most overrated position in the AFL? Or do you think it was just the fact that we were so much stronger than the Hawks in the middle?
Yeah, I to some degree, rucks are a little bit overrated. I think you don't need a superstar ruck, and I'm a bit against paying your ruckman a ridiculously high salary. I think if you look at teams that have won a lot of the recent flags, most of them don't really have that top 3 ruckmen in the competition, but I mean, it's hard to give the sample size with a team like Hawthorn. Like their midfield's pretty young. It's not the greatest in the competition. And I don't know, is there an element of our midfield actually realizing that they had to work maybe 2-3 times harder because of that, and that allowed us to win out in that area? Yeah, I think there's a degree of the ruckman being a little bit overrated, but you definitely need a good ruckman. And coming up against Darcy and Jackson this week, you definitely need a good ruckman in there. I don't think you'll be able to have that midfield dominance without it.
And Adrian asked the most important question. Is it purple or lilac?
I'll go purple. It's a very bright purple.
I'd go lilac, to be honest, but no, I think purple's fair. I think purple's fair. Now, Mr. Lekdog, same question to you. You're looking at this team. They beat Hawthorn quite comfortably. Is there anything here that you were unhappy with or you thought we could have done better at the selection table? I'm guessing you're going to say yes.
Yes. We did the best we could in the rucks, given we knew TDK was going to be a laid out, even though they named him. Look, for me, it was just the perfect game to play Paddy Dow and maybe debut Jackson Binns. And, the easy answer for that is an Ed out and, I don't know, maybe a Chincotta out or something like that. Broadly, I was pretty happy with the team. But, yeah, I just thought if you were going to give either of those two guys an opportunity to establish themselves or show us what they can do, it was against Hawthorn coming off the bye. But it was not meant to be. And I think Dow, he went back and dominated and then got knocked out in the last sort of minute of the game. So very disappointing.
Well, the Carlton conspiracy theorists will suggest that we paid off a Northern Bullants player to do that, so Voss didn't have to answer the question for a second week in a row. But Lekdog, I asked Ian the same question. Rucks, do you feel like they're overrated, or do you think that people maybe are reading into it just because our midfield did beat their midfield up through experience and skill?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't read too much into it. They are a big duo, Reeves and Meek, but they weren't even getting off the ground. JSOS was jumping over the top of them. So I don't know if that's inexperience on their part or maybe they underestimated them. But JSOS had quite a few hitouts to advantage, which is nice. But I think for sure you need someone a bit more effective taking the blows throughout the game. So they used Young for the majority of the ruck contest to sort of absorb the blows. I'd much rather have a Pito in there absorbing those blows and winning some hitouts to advantage. We were very good around the ball and at the stoppages, but I think it's a small sample size. I'm pro ruckman, and I still think we're a ruckman short on this list. So it'll be interesting to see what we do. Hopefully, we get one of the big guys back this week, but I'm not holding my breath.
I've seen a lot of Lekdog outside of YouTube, and I can confirm he has a red hat that says "Make Ruckman Great Again." So I'm with it. Mr. Terry, obviously we got excited about this win, as we all do. Now, from a team selection standpoint, you were there at the ground. Was there anything that stood out to you that you thought we might have made a mistake on the selection side of things?
Probably just what Ian and Lekdog have said. I'm just a little unsure about Ed. Would love to see Binns at some point, but I mean, there's just got to be something that we're not aware of that's happening inside. That's getting Ed into the side, and it's pretty straightforward for me. There's just a missing piece of information.
Do you buy into the blue spiracy that goes around? Now, this is a very common conspiracy. You know me, I don't like conspiracies, but I do enjoy having a good laugh at them. And the big conspiracy is Charlie Curnow's re-signing included Ed Curnow has to play a set amount of games. Do you buy into that, Terry? Because I don't.
I don't, but I have heard it. I have heard it said to me directly from particular people, but I don't believe it.
If that's true, I might have to change my football club.
Nuke YouTube. Nuke it all. Where's the button?
If that's true, I have lost all faith in anything ever again. But Terry, do you buy into the ruckman? Obviously, I've seen a lot of fans get excited. They were impressive, it has to be said, around the ball. They did dominate Hawthorn. I thought they dominated Hawthorn more than Gold Coast did, who are ranked higher than Carlton in that department, and we had no ruckman. Do you buy in to we need a ruckman, or do you think Young and JSOS is capable and we've stumbled across a football genius?
I think we need a ruckman. We need one of Tom or Pito to play this week at least. I think the mental application of everyone as a whole is the reason why we dominated at clearance. And maybe there was just there was a readiness for us to lose a head out and knowing what to do and apply the pressure straight away. We were very proactive and we were very prepared for wherever the ball was going to go, it seemed anyway. So, yeah, I think we need at least one of our big boys this week, especially.
I'm with you all. I actually thought, and I said it in my preview, I actually thought no TDK and Pitternet would be a blessing in disguise for the midfield, because I think sometimes they hide behind Pitternet. And I figured this week they had to be proactive. Like Terry said, they had to get busy because they were going to lose nearly every hit out, which they did. They got battered in that department. So I actually think this was like the greatest training method ever for them, because if they didn't, they were going to get destroyed. So I'm with you. I think we need a ruckman, but I did like the fact we actually had to see the midfield work overtime for a change. It wasn't guaranteed. They had to work harder than normal.
They're also their midfield's not that crash hot, very young. All we had to do was position to beat them to it. Like they had 60, 61 hit outs, something like that. Looking at the numbers, we were just in the right position. We've seen when we've been worse, we've done that to clubs where we've dominated the hit outs, but just been absolutely mauled at the clearance. So I think it speaks more to the inexperience of their midfield versus the experience of ours, rather than the actual ruck situation. Like if we go in with no ruckman this week, I'm quite worried about what big old Shrek's going to do to us.
Well, you don't need Shrek when you've got Donkey Ed Kerno there. Yeah, I mean,
well,
right.
You spoke about an Ed-spiracy there. I've got maybe another one as well. Why he was selected last week. If we're going deep into it, that I heard was it's Charlie's 100th this week. So did they bring him in last week? So it wasn't so obvious to bring him in this week for his 100th.
Oh my god!
Terry's face is how my brain just went. I was like, "You fucking nailed it." I've got no more questions, Your Honor.
Ed's also very close to, I think, equaling like 20th or 25th most games played for the club. He's close to a record as well.
Oh.
Ed's playing this week. I didn't even think of that, but Ed's playing this week. They're not going to not play Ed while Charlie's playing his 100th game.
Yeah. How did we miss that?
I'm going to need to change my team quickly.
Ethan, Ian secretly went to the club. I think Ian's just revealed the truth. We're trying to think of a football reason, and Ian's just nailed it straight out of the park.
Photos with the president say it all. That's what it is.
And
yes,
the final
Ed Kerno this week will tie Eddie Betts, Robert Walls, and Tommy Elvin for 218 games played. I don't know what that puts him on the ladder, but there you go.
Mate, that is crazy. But one question I had about team, and I want chat to answer this as well as all you guys. I'll go from top to bottom. The wing this week was a real interesting thing. We talked about it in team selection last week because we tried to bin Bins in, but then we covered the fact that he probably wasn't going to play. Doc sharing that role. You saw Walsh go there. Connors pinch hit there. Even Ed Kerno had wing minutes this week. Real heavily rotated area of the ground. Now, Lekdog, I know you're going to hate me for even alluding to this, but is that showing that because we've got such an influx of similar midfielders that it allows Carlton to maybe drop one of them wings and heavily rotate someone across that half-forward line to play there, which gives us more options? Because it is no surprise the two most rotated games in Voss's history have been the last 2 weeks without a recognised wing. So, Lekdog, I'll start with you because you're almost wing obsessed like me. Do we need a winger?
I mean, so far the evidence would say no. I would still prefer a winger and dropping one of the bigger bodied mids. But I think the other thing we got to consider, Pom, I don't think it's just the having Cunningham in, having Doherty able to play through the mid. I don't think it's that. I think what allows that is the extra depth we've got in defence as well. Newman, Sard, Boyd, Chincotta. We've got that one extra defender in that allows Doherty in particular to move around the ground. So it's almost like they're just using that wing spot as sort of a 20-second spare spot, and they're literally just rotating everyone through it, which it's working. So I'm not against it. We don't really have a first-rate winger that I would have in that spot over any of the guys that are rotating through, which is probably why they're doing it. I'm referencing Lob, Cottrell, and obviously we haven't seen Binge yet. So unless we were to bring in some superstar winger from another club, a Langdon or a whatever, I can see why we're using that position. We used to use sort of a forward pocket to do that. We'd rotate everyone through the forward pocket. Now it looks like it's on the wing, and it's been effective.
You've proper done my boy Hollands there, saying we haven't got an all-star winger.
Apologies. Fit.
Ollie,
Yeah,
if you're watching this,
he's injured. He's not on my list.
If you're watching this, fuck Lekdog. Terry, wingers, are they important?
Yes, but I think when you rotate Sam Walsh on the wing, he's better than anyone that we have on the list.
Agree.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think you've nailed that. Ian?
Like, even though Walsh is not a winger,
Yeah.
I think when he does play wing, he's our best winger.
No, I agree. I think it frees him up as well. I think Walsh in space turns me on.
Yeah.
Ian?
Well, I don't know how much else I can add to it. I definitely think wings are important. And like, you guess like Akers isn't perfect, but I think his work rate really nails down that more defensive side of the wing. And then it's looking at the other one as a bit more of an attacking impact, which I think has worked well with a Doc coming off the square for a clearance that we definitely saw heavily in that Gold Coast game. And then same with like a Walsh and even a Cunningham, those real more attacking players. And then I think Lekdog kind of nailed it as well, saying that when you're looking at the guys that we probably have that are more suited to that niche of a wing role, being a Hollands and a Binns, as much as Hollands has definitely shown that he's more capable than a Binns, obviously at the level at the moment, I just don't think that they're at that superstar ready to go right now level that you're seeing obviously as a Walsh, as a Doherty can kind of impact at the moment. I think they're the future and they're what it will be going forward once they've got those games under the belt and the developments there. But at the moment, this rotating thing is definitely working. And like, I think Terry's nailed it. Like, you got Walshy playing some incredible football. And if that's going to allow us more pace on the outside, guys running through and getting this transition football working, then I guess we stick to it until someone else takes it over.
Yeah, Walsh had 16 touches on the wing against Hawthorn, which is more than most of our players who play on the wing get in a game. So it just speaks to his ability and his fitness is getting back behind him. So yeah, it is working, but I'd love to see Hollands in there when he gets back. Pom.
Yeah.
I will answer this from Ethan. I think Ian and Terry and Lekdog between them nailed why I was alluding to it is it's interesting. Ollie Hollands, 70% wing, 30% on the ball as a kid. Jackson Binns, 60% wing, 40% half forward. Then the Camporelli brothers, you've got one of them 90% wing, 10% inside. The other one is 80 wing, 20 halfback. So I think you may be seeing the club, dare I say it, prep for the future and think, you know what, in the future we've got 4 wingers who can also play an auxiliary position, which at the moment, O'Brien is a winger. Cottrell is probably the only one who's versatile enough to play 2 positions. Akers used to be a halfback, but we tried that round 2 and it bombed. So I think that might be just a sign of the future, because I don't think of that people on the screen, I'm going to predict now, 5 of them won't play when we play in an elimination final.
Agree.
Yeah.
And by the time the Camporellis come along and Hollands develops and all that, it seems very likely that an Akers won't be in the side, a Doherty might be retired, all of that. I think that's a fair shout. But yes, we had no wingers. Then we bought in 2 or 3 in the off-season, and we've got 4 coming in the future. So
I did laugh because you mentioned forward pockets, and I was like, we still haven't fucking got any. Like, what are you
well,
on about?
no, we used to put everyone in the forward pocket.
I'm on a forward pocket since Matty Wright, mate. What are you on about? But we've talked enough. Let's pick on Terry. So Terry, talk us through it.
Okay. So I tried to keep it as simple as possible. So I'm going to. This is a hope. This is a hope that TDK will play. I think from the way I read the literature, that is the injury report, I think TDK is more likely to be available than Pitto. And if that's the case, then I'll have him in the side for Lewis Young. And I would personally bring Hewitt into the team to start and Cottrell make him the sub. And then going out, obviously, Lewis Young and Ed Kerno. But I've also just realized it's Charlie's 100th. They've just released a tweet with Charlie and Ed doing something in a pub. And it's just like, get real. It's an interview that they've filmed at a pub, it looks like. So I guess just take my team with a grain of salt because Ed will be playing this week.
Just before we dive into it, have any of us got Ed in our team? Because we're gonna need to put him in it at the end of the show.
I didn't.
I didn't.
No, I didn't either.
So we've got one position wrong no matter what.
Yeah. Well,
we can have a wild card if we need it.
A wild card, yeah. Well, the other thing I was thinking as well, when I look at Fremantle's forward line, I mean, I know Jackson rests there. I know Amos is kind of their guy right now in this moment, and Tracy's in there, but I don't look at them as necessarily a forward line that's going to trouble us too much in the air. I think if anything, these smaller types are going to be the ones that give us a bit of grief. The Walters, the Switkowskis, the Schultzes, these ones. So I was actually going to have Cincotta out of the side and bring in Cottrell, but I like Cottrell as a sub because I know that we're going to use the sub. So like I know it's going to be a tactical sub. So to get Cottrell's run and dash in that fourth quarter, that's what I've gone with. And Cincotta and Boyd obviously are there to help with, Sard and Newman to take on those smalls. So that's my theory.
Well, chat, throw your questions in. And Terry, I've got a question for you. Pittonet and TDK, let's just say a miracle, because I can't remember a time we've had a fitness test with two people playing the same position and they've both passed. So I don't think that's possible. But let's just say in the unlikely event, Thursday comes around, Voss is told, Pittonet and TDK, 100% fit, they could run London Marathon tomorrow. Would you pick both of them or would you still pick one?
I would pick both of them and I would drop JSOS.
Tez, you are in trouble, mate.
That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted.
I didn't want it. It's a disgrace. I have advocated for JSOS all week. Look, I am happy to say when I'm wrong. Lekdog, any questions for Terry?
No, because I think our team's very, very, very similar. If both were available, I'm picking Pitto over TDK against Darcy. If I had to choose one of them, but I agree. I think Cottrell's the perfect sub coming off a week off. I think we've seen him impact as the sub before. I think his game is best suited to that for us because he can fill multiple positions and he can impact games. Like we've seen him kick a couple of goals in a quarter quite a few times now. So it's a very solid list of players. I think you've done well. Pom, I just wanted to shout out, Eleanor in the chat has asked, is the purpose to pick the team that you think will be selected by Carlton or to pick the team that we think should be selected? And I think it's the second option. We're all working together to pick our team.
Yeah.
The idea is to try and mirror the selection table at Carlton. So it's a group of people make their 22 and they fight over and try and get you guys to be the coach. So, Eleanor, you are Voss in this situation. We're merely the mugs throwing an idea at you. And Ian, have you got any questions for Terry? He's actually, I think he's done a good team, to be honest. I've got no questions apart from wind-up ones.
Yeah, no, I don't have a lot. It's a little bit different to what I've done, but they're all really good, solutions and reasons why. I worry a little bit with Hewitt adding into it that it's a little bit too many of those sort of inside midfielders, but when you've got guys like Walsh that you may be moving out of there for a little bit, and obviously you can heavily rotate it. It's not the worst thing, and we've seen that midfield work quite a lot, and maybe you need that a little bit, knowing the ruck maybe dominance that a Freo will have to get your big bodies around that midfield. So yeah, Hewitt maybe be my only query, but again, I really do like it.
I love it. No, I love it, Terry. I think you've nailed it. I mean, I'd love them to drop Ed Kerner. And the only reason I say that, there's two guys. I've done it. You'll see it in my team. Terry's mentioned one I've dropped. But there's two players in this team that I don't quite understand their role. Ed Kerner, I think, is disposable. I think anyone can do it. No disrespect to Ed. And dare I say it, Chincotta, I feel like anyone can do that role. There's about 6 or 7 guys that could do it. So they're the two that I question. But I think it's good. I think it's good. I'd be happy with that team.
Mm.
No one will be happy with any team. That's something we can all agree on.
I don't agree to that.
I reckon I've known the Carlton fans well enough. I could pick the perfect team. I reckon I could pick a team that no one would complain with. It wouldn't win
in 23 positions.
It wouldn't win, but fuck, it would get some good feedback. Let's pick on the happiest man and chat. Do not adjust your screens.
Yeah, I'm getting hurt here. I've gone big and I am ready for, I think I said in our group chat, the start of my villain arc is the fact that I've dropped Silvani, and I'm ready for the chat to absolutely roast me on this. But I think we need to hear me out on this one. So I'm very interested to get people's takes on this. So yeah, look, main change is I've got both ruckmen in. Now I will caveat this with, there is no part of any part of me that actually thinks these two will both be fit and available for selection. But if they are, I've got both in. And I think firstly, Young comes out if any of our ruckmen are fit. And then for me, I think Pitt would be my number one choice over De Koning if again available. Young wasn't great. And then, yeah, Pitt, just with his bigger body, bigger frame, I think he's our number one ruck. Slides straight in to deal with Darcy and Jackson. And then with the De Koning against Silvani, this is my thought. So Sauce obviously comes off one of his better games he's played for us in recent times, particularly in the ruck. What he did amazingly was his around the ground work. Now, De Koning in the last game he played against Gold Coast was probably his best game he's ever played for us in the ruck. So if he's healthy, it's kind of the same argument in a way with him and Jasoff both coming off really good games. But I worry against the mights of Darcy and Jackson that Jasoff isn't going to be allowed to have that influence around the contest and around the ground as much because he's going to be bruised up. They're going to be very physical with him. So if that's his strength and that's what he was doing great as that second ruckman, I'm not sure he's going to be allowed to do it this time. And I guess, again, if I'm going off who's fit, if I'm going off my best 22, it's De Koning and Pitnet at the moment, particularly against the matchup this week where we need our best rucks out there. It's definitely probably not Jasoff. So I've gone absolutely brutal and dropped him. Maybe it is definitely unfair given how well he did play on the weekend. And again, I don't think both De Koning and Pitt will be fit. But if they are, I think you have to drop Sauce because I don't think he fits anywhere else in this team with that height. So I'm being absolutely ruthless there. And then to rattle off the rest of them, bins in for Ed. Probably won't happen now that we've all realized that it's Charlie's 100th. So maybe just reverse that one. But you could probably maybe throw in a Cottrell, throw in a Hollands if he is good to go. I think he's like a test to play. But I think with Hollands, go back to the reserves, get your body right. Would rather him to get a bit more of a base before he comes straight into this team. And then as far as Cottrell, I've got him as my sub because I think his last couple of games weren't amazing. They were fine. And he's probably the best sub option that we do have. And I'd almost much rather him be the sub than play, weirdly enough, just because of all the other choices we have for this tactical sub. And then, yeah, I don't love the big body midfield over Hewitt being that tactical sub. I'd rather a pacey and hungry Matty Cottrell coming onto the team in that maybe third quarter, last quarter to just wreak havoc. I think that's exciting. But yeah, I can understand everyone about to rip my head off for daring to drop Jasoff after last week, and I'm excited about it.
I've got to say, people in the chat are saying you look like a real estate agent, but the way that you danced around the fact that you dropped Jasoff makes you sound like a politician. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like you've just told me you've increased the interest rates by 20%, but the way you've told me it, I'm not even bothered anymore. Terry, any questions for young Ian about the team? Are you going to grill him about the Jasoff appointment?
No, I'm curious to get your thoughts on what do you think is the ideal split of midfield / back half time for Doc at this point in his career?
It's tough. It's tough. I think because at the moment we haven't really nailed down that other winger so far, like we kind of alluded to earlier, that while I do think Doc's best position is still probably halfback in that scenario where we've maybe solidified the wing more. I think Cincotta comes out, Doc goes back down there. At the moment, I have liked what I've seen. So I guess it's probably, I don't know, 50-50 or maybe 60-40 wing being the more at the moment for me. But again, I like the flexibility of if it isn't working, if something isn't happening, you can just shift him to defense where he works well. But yeah, at the moment, maybe 50-50, 60-40 wing.
Fair. Oh, I have another follow-up question. Can I ask?
Go for it.
Who does Wiedering take?
Oh, that's tough. Oh, I don't know. Honestly, I haven't thought too much about the matchups immediately given their defense because it
makes it a real Carlton selection table.
Yeah. I worry about us. I worry about us. I worry about the rucks. I didn't worry about their forward line because I don't know. Weirdly, I'm not too nervous. Yeah. Who have they got at the moment apart from Amos down there kicking goals?
Well, Amos, Tracy, and Jackson are the ones that probably float in and out. He
probably just has to take the tallest, really, I think, is where I'm going with Jacob. Whoever's deeper is probably where I'm going because I like Gov and Kemp a little bit higher. So it's probably whoever takes him more to the goal square, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd send Wiedering to Amos. I think he's the only one who's an actual threat in front of goal for them as a tall. Jackson's playing injured at the moment. He's not really hitting the scoreboard. Tracy's,
all that
Lewis Young to play on Tracy
of like
Lekdog.
Period drama women.
Lekdog, the way you spoke about Tracy just then reminds me of 2020 when we played Port. Pommy and I did a preview, and he's like, it's like Peter Laddams.
Who's this guy?
Who's that guy? Ended up getting 3 votes.
That won't come back to bite me. Ian, I've got a question for you. Just do you think that, and this is a serious question, I'd like you to expand on it. Do you think that Tom De Koning's a better ruckman than Jack Silvani?
Oh, that's a good question, to be honest. A little bit, I do. Yeah, honestly, there's probably not too much between them at the moment when you really think about it, but I'd probably have De Koning over it a little bit. But I think that De Koning probably offers you more elsewhere when we need it. And I think that why I'd have De Koning over Sauce is particularly maybe more of the stuff he can do in that forward line, pushing up the ground to take the marks and ease the workload of a Charlie and a Harry. But yeah, I probably would say he's over Sauce in the ruck department and then just having that bigger body to wrestle the two big behemoths we're coming up against this week. I worry that Jack's just going to get pushed out even more, whereas at least De Koning being that little bit bigger, not by much, but I think his athleticism can allow him to jump a little bit more than Sauce can. But what do you reckon on that?
I don't disagree with you, but I think it's funny because JSOS actually has a better hit out to advantage percentage. But no, it was an interesting question. I think it's an actually interesting debate because I don't think I know people hate me. I still don't think Tom De Koning's a ruckman, but I think he's marking up the ground. He has the ability to float behind the ball. He did kick 2 goals 2 weeks ago. So yes, I would obviously have him in over JSOS, but as a pure ruckman, I actually think there's an interesting discussion there.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. Like weirdly, when you talk about where De Koning sits in the future of us and same for like a Silvani, I don't think De Koning will ever be, and maybe I'm happy to be wrong in this if he's playing for us and it works out well, but I don't think he's ever going to be that number 1 ruckman. I think he's that second fiddle. And yeah, I definitely prefer him in that role than JSOS, because as much as we're hyping up JSOS, and maybe considering I've dropped him, this is my point where I'm just going to shit on him more and annoy everyone in the comments and watching this. But how many times this season and in his career have we been going, Jesus, he's not a second ruckman. What are we doing? Poor again this week. It hasn't worked. And then all of a sudden he plays one good game in the ruck and we're like, that's it. Sign him up. He's our second ruckman going forward. And I'm just like, I can't buy into too much in one game, as much as you probably can maybe say the same a bit about De Koning. But I think we do have to temper our Jack Silvani in the ruck, considering how much we wanted him out of the side probably like a month ago in that role.
Yep, fair. And Josh in the comments, I was purely baiting, but I think it's a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Yui asked a question that I had that I wanted to ask as well. Just in that backline, how do you think you're going to best negate Mr. Walters? Because I think Walters' last couple of games, he's been strong, and he's probably that type of player that fucks us, isn't he? Really, Walters. Like, I never look at key forwards and are scared for some reason. Like Lynch, Hawkins, Cameron, they don't bother me. It's that crafty, mid-sized, tiny forward that you know he's going to come out 55, arc around and somehow get one out on his own and kick 7. Walters, who's taking Walters and what's your plan? Are you going tag or are you going hard and make him defend?
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like I might fence it slightly on this, so feel free to call me out. But I think the way our defense has kind of set up the last few games, and particularly against Hawthorn, like it was just the collective that really did the work, and the mids restricting easy access. Like we weren't giving Hawthorn a lot of easy looks, and we were forcing them to make decisions and have to be perfect, which allowed us to intercept. So firstly, I think the midfield really just have to defend the ground really, really well to stop the entry, because it almost doesn't matter who's on him. If the ball's coming in there with plenty of space, he's going to hurt us. But it's probably Newman for me. I think he's maybe played that defensive role really well this year. But you've got the likes of Assad that if he's starting to burn him with pace, we've seen Saad do lockdown roles. So I think it's maybe rotating a little bit between those depending on how Walters goes. But I think you lock Newman on him. He's that kind of small lockdown for me where everyone else is a bit more expansive with Boyd and his ball movement, Saad with his run, Chincotta with the run. I think, Newman would probably be my lockdown.
Mate, I love it. And you know what? You haven't got much hate. There's only been one JSOS comment. So.
Yeah. And I as I said, if both aren't fit in Pitternet and De Koning, which I can't imagine both would be ready to go, JSOS would be my backup straight in as a weight and ready to go player, definitely over a Young, just to put that on record.
Ian, I think you answered it as a politician, and you got a politician's response. You've dropped JSOS.
It's the suit. It's the suit.
And no one knows as well. No one knows. They're all happy you've done it as well, the way you did it. Mr. Lekdog, you didn't kill a fan favourite, but then you did. So talk about it.
So I'll talk to Chincotta first. I think with bringing Hewitt into the side from the sub, we can shift Doherty behind the ball a bit more by bringing in an extra winger in Bins, which I don't think will happen. I think we can then rotate Chera, Walsh, Cripper, Hewitt, Kennedy through the midfield a bit more by basically taking the Doherty rotations out, giving them to Hewitt. I think I would like Doherty's, I don't know, organisation down back a bit, because I am worried about the smalls. I would probably actually run Saad with Walters, by the way, for what it's worth. I just think that's a good matchup for him. Pitto comes in for Young. I'm assuming both ruckmen are available. I think JSOS was good enough to leave in the side, and obviously, if Pitto's not available, TDK comes in. If neither are available, Young has to stay in. But my first preference is to have Pitto eat up most of the minutes in the ruck against Darcy. And then, I didn't want to get flamed by the comments, so JSOS stays in the team. And TDK, he can go and have a rest for the week. But the team is relatively unchanged. And Cottrell's sub, I think we've all had Cottrell's sub so far. I think he's just the perfect sub.
He's the perfect sub, yeah.
He's the one, isn't he? He's the one. I feel better seeing him there than Hewitt.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got pace. He can kick goals. If there's an early injury, he can play on the wing and allow some rotations to move around. He can do it all. And he wasn't in amazing form. I know he kicked a couple of goals before that, before he got suspended. He wasn't in amazing form, but he's done enough to impact games. And yeah, we've seen him during lockdown. I'm sure it was lockdown in Perth a couple of times. He came on and I think he did the Giannis celebration, kicked 3 goals in the quarter. He can do
COVID
it.
Specialist.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want him out there for the full game. You only want him out there for a quarter and just let him get all his energy pent up for 3 quarters and let him run free.
Do you know what I mean? Markymark, he's not happy you got Cincotta. Explain to me why you took Cincotta out. I think it's fair.
I think he's a bit superfluous to what we do with Boyd, Sard, Newman, Doc, all available and Kemp playing well. And I don't think he's been that great for the last couple of weeks. I don't really know what he brings to the table that we can't replicate or improve on with a Doherty. And I think we get more out of midfield and wing rotations if it's not Doherty in there, to be honest. I know he gets a lot of the ball and people get excited when he does, but Doc's number one priority is to get the ball and kick it as far as he can. And I kind of would rather he's doing that behind or just quietly. So it's, to me, Cincotta's just a bit superfluous with Boyd, Newman, Sard, and Doc in the side. Can someone tell me what his role is and what he's doing? I love him and I'm excited for him and I'm glad he's on our list, but I don't think we ever signed him to be a permanent 22 fixture in our defence.
Terry?
It's a good question. I battled with it. To be honest, I initially had him dropped. And then I had a second thought about it because I wanted Cottrell as the sub. And then I thought about their smalls and he would just take one of them and just sit on them because they're dangerous. I think Switkowski is the one that really goes under the radar. He's just so clean. So for me, Cincotta would stay in purely because of their smalls. But I was with you. I was on the fence of having him in the side. And I think he's a good story. But I think I just don't want to get caught up in making a conclusion too soon about him because he's had a really good start. Like, let's just get the body of work in. Let's just get the 8 games done for the rest of the season or the rest of the year as it plays out, whether he's playing in the 1s or the 2s, then make a call on if he's a gun. So I'm with you. Yeah. Yeah.
And so Sard and Newman, for this specific matchup, they're actually better statistically in one-on-one opportunities than Cincotta's been, and he's still learning, and that's fine. But if they are dangerous to defence, that's actually why I don't want him. I think between Boyd, Newman, and Sard, we can do it. And at times we've seen Blake Acres drop behind the ball to be an extra if we need him to. So I'm fine if he plays. I'm fine if he doesn't. I just think I'm not going to be surprised if come Thursday or Friday, whenever the teams drop, if he's not in it. That's my prediction.
Fair.
No, very fair.
I have a question. Is it my turn? Sorry.
Yeah, it is.
My question to Lekdog. If you had a choice of someone in our team kicking a goal after the siren from the same spot that Noons kicked it, who would it be and why?
Oh, that is a difficult question. Your gut instinct is to go with Charlie Curnow, but I'm not going to. How far away was he on the boundary?
45.
What's the distance? Jeez, it's a long kick, isn't it? You know what? I'm throwing my eggs in with Jack Martin. I believe in you. I think he'll care. I think he steps up at the moment, and he's either going to snap his hamstring or he's going to kick the goal for me. So I'm going Jack Martin.
Okay.
If Mark Murphy was still in the team, I'd pick Mark Murphy just as a record. I don't think Matt Owies can make the distance. That's the only reason I didn't pick him. Who would you go, Tez?
Who would I go? If I could pick absolutely anyone, it would be Charlie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, if I could pick absolutely anyone. I also think McGovern is a low-key...
yeah.
Well, I'm thinking now like a Sam Doherty.
That's who I would have had.
Miraculous.
That's who I would have gone.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I feel like his set shot, weirdly, he doesn't have many. And this weekend, because I've said this now, he's going to miss every single chance. But I don't feel like I've seen him miss many set shots. Like, he always just seems to be clean. And I don't know. I reckon he'd have the crowd up and about. And if anyone could do it, it's him, surely.
Ian, you've just put the nose on him.
He's going to miss about 7. They're going to lose because of it. It's all me. And at JSOS now, this. God damn it.
Yeah, imagine kicking for your life from the boundary, and you see Harry turn around to snap it, and you just say goodbye to my family.
Siren's gone, and he's played on, and he's into the game.
He's played on, and he's kicked it 25, chest high.
You can see it. You can see it. No, that's a good question. You know what? I'll throw a curveball out there. You know who I reckon? And I saw him have a ping from a long way out, and it was spoiled. Blakers. I've got a feeling Blakers blazing at goal is better than Blakers trying to hit a small target.
His goal against us last year was ridiculous. That kick, I don't know if anyone remembers that, like 50 meters on the run. That was insane. So he needs to do that for us this week.
Oh, I like it. I think you've got away with that one, Lekdog. Have you got any questions, Ian?
Oh, no, I don't have any questions, honestly. Like, I do quite rate it. And yeah, to rattle off the Chincotta chat, like, I definitely agree he'd be the first one out. And I think we said a couple of weeks ago, talking about the balance, that depending on how much you may be playing Doc in the midfield, we're probably one defender too many for team balance. And he had a really good first quarter. I thought Chincotta really bursting through, using his pace. And that's probably, to answer Lekdog's question, what he brings. It's probably his dash, but to probably agree with Lekdog in the end that there's other players that kind of do that. And if you're going to get rid of one, it'd be him, because everyone else kind of has a bit more of a point of difference that they offer. And so, yeah, in the end, if you're moving him out to bring something else in and move the team around for a bit more defensive stability with Doherty down there, I'm a fan.
The only players who had less meters gained than him, and it's not everything I know, on the weekend for us were Cunningham, Ed Curnow, Matt Owens, and George Hewitt. So,
and that bald-headed bloke who sits on the bench next to Voss.
Lynn Villani.
Yeah, who the fuck is that? What's he doing? He looks like he knows everything, but doesn't seem to have a defined role. But
he's a great man, Lynn. One more question. Oh no, Pom, you go. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you go.
I'm probably going to ask you as well. So with Hewitt, I feel like a narrative has started to emerge that he's not in our best 22 anymore, and it's not the fact that he's just been a little banged up. So are you still a believer in Hewitt in the best midfield mix?
Yes, I am. We all know we've probably got one too many big-bodied mids, but given we find a place for Ed Curnow every week, and given what he showed last year, so when we got, I don't know if you remember, when we got your George Hewitt, Pom and I jumped on a show with you, and we presented George Hewitt. Statistically, he's Ed Curnow, but better for his whole career. And the intention was for him to replace Ed Curnow in the side, in my opinion. So I'm still of the opinion that, yeah, he's definitely in our side. He was awesome last year. He's been awesome most of his career. I feel like injuries have not helped him this year. He's not a bad footballer. I don't subscribe to that.
Fair.
Well, you've got away with it. And see if I get away with it, because I went bold here, so I want to start this off.
Ooh.
When Pom picks a team, couldn't give a fuck about you being brothers, have a beer at home. So even if I know what I know now, Ed Curnow would not be playing the 100 if he can shake his hand at the end. I went TDK for one reason. I'm subscribing to the doggies method with Tim English when they dropped Stephen Martin. Let's see what TDK is about. Beveridge talked about throwing English in at the deep end and taking away the safety blanket when they brought Stephen Martin in. Safety blanket's gone for TDK. He's up against a guy that's going to look to break the PCL of Pitternet. So it's the PCL knee has been confirmed. Darcy knows that. He's going to try and take it out. So scrap him this week no matter what. TDK's got to learn. Jesus stays in because I don't buy into Jesus as a great ruckman, but I buy into he's a great squad player, and I think he's average at everything. Second ruck is the home of being average at everything. So let's see him against two of the better two ruck combinations in the league and see what that is. And the big shock, Chin Cotter. Some people have talked to me about leg speed. He's a back pocket. So we've got to look at something. So him and Pittonet are a fitness test. TDK seems more likely to me and a less risk. Cowan comes in to try and take away their forward pressure. He's been playing an identical role to Chin Cotter in the VFL, which is genuinely a sign you're about to get dropped. It's been a big shift in the last 2 weeks. So preempted it. So I think Cowan, big kick. We missed that when Doc's not down the back. Newman doesn't have a long kick. Sard doesn't have a long kick. Kemp takes dangerous kicks but doesn't have that punt in him. I feel having that punt to that midfield would help. That is the POM team. So that's the big bold call. Cowan in. 4 weeks of solid work from the young champ.
No, I mean, that's what we drafted him for, right? His ability to move the ball with speed and long distances. He's kicking. I don't mind it. He was solid again on the weekend. I guess I can't remember if we've all had him in our team, but no Jackson Binns, Pommy. 29 disposals, 5 marks, 6 tackles, not enough for you.
Huge advocate of bringing him in a game, though, that I would deem this as a must-win. With Eagles around the corner, I've earmarked Eagles. 2 things, though. When I finally dropped Dow played that week. So I have tried to go that maybe Carlton are trying to piss me off. And if I lose faith in Binns, they will select him. So there is an element of that. But great argument. But I am happy with the rotation to see it one more time. Cowan is a faster footballer, believe it or not, as well, by foot than Chin Cotter. He's also bigger and tougher. So I figured we don't lose anything. We still see that rotation and see another week. And see another week of Cowan. Chin Cotter goes back to the VFL, works on his trade, and see what we look like next week. But also, Shane makes a great point. The week coming up, they've got Coburg, who are one of the better VFL sides. So I do want to see Binns get ready for Eagles by playing one more tough game. And I'd love Hewitt in there to help Binns, just to get some quality around him so we can see what it's like.
Pom, this isn't supposed to be a VFL chat, and none of us had him even close to the team, but any chance the Blues look at Motlop to come back after a few goals in the twos?
He played against Postman this week, and he was good.
True.
I'll give him that. Motlop, 4 goals too. Yeah, pretty good. But he did his job against amateurs. Let's see him this week and the next week. For me, it's a no-brainer for Ed Curnow because it's the same role. Ed Curnow isn't tagging anymore. He hasn't done his last 2 games. He's playing Zach Fisher's role. Zach Fisher's injured. Motlop's taken that mantle. Look pretty handy. If you do it, do it. But I think Motlop needs 2 weeks. My problem with Motlop and Durden is they get 1 week, and I believe they need to work another week and say, you've done it once, do it 2 weeks, boys. Do it 3 weeks.
And final question. John has asked the same question in chat. If TDK is not available and Pitto's not available, what are you doing?
If TDK is not available, it's just a straight shot for Pittonet. We have to bring him in. I'll have to bite the bullet. It has to be a ruckman, though. And Hudson Keefe is miles away. Absolutely miles away. So I just feel I feel he's on form if they were both fit, and I had to pick one. TDK wins over the last 2 weeks. So give TDK another week to see this rotation, because this is I think this is the toughest ruck matchup for us in the league, because both of these fuckers are so different. I think all the other ruck combinations are very similar. These ones are too different. And Stephen, to answer your question, what I meant about tough, their midfield is tough. They spread. So they're going to make Binns work. They've got 2 wingmen who can run with him. At the moment, Binns has the luxury of he's about 20% fitter than every VFL wingman.
If both Pitto and De Koning aren't good, is it Young? Like, where are you sort of looking at the ruck there, or you're just running JSOS as the 1 and someone else as the 2.
Hoping for the best.
Ed Kerner with the ruck.
If TDK and Pitternet die this week, 2 things. One, I will be about as surprised as I would be opening socks at Christmas Day. Not very. And 2, yeah, I'd have to play young because Hudson O'Keefe, nowhere near it. Nowhere near it. But my fear with Pitternet is Darcy, history in Magoo when he was a junior, at taking players out. There was junior coaches who dropped Ruckman towards the end of the draft because it's how he plays. Fair play to him. It's his game. I like it. I like a cheat. But you know Darcy's going to, if he passes this fitness test, has heard it's the PCL knee, and he's going to kick him in that knee. He's going to be like, right.
He's the one who did it in the first place.
Yeah, but you know Darcy's going to be like, fuck him. I'm going to kill him.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think it's a stupid risk. An MCL is what TDK is. He's meant to be okay to play this week. He's a test. It's harder to hurt an MCL than it is a PCL. So, and I think TDK is too quick for Darcy anyway.
All right.
Yeah, Terry looks
Let's
like
build
he's
this
prepared
team.
a question.
Pardon?
Terry looks like he's prepared a question.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Go on.
How many goals does Charlie Kerner kick in his 100th game?
10.
Okay. Who would you have as a stand-in captain if Cripps couldn't captain?
What, for this game or permanently?
Okay, this game.
Charlie Kerner.
Okay.
I can explain it. I think Charlie Kerner is Michael Clark, the Playboy Prince, right? I was always confident he'd get fit because I think he's immature, and he's now mature. So he's learned he can't rest on his laurels. He's got to eat right, be healthy. I think that's good leadership because he's got life lessons, right? Life lessons where he's adjusted. But I also think one thing. People talk about Sam Walsh. I don't think they understand what Sam Walsh is. Sam Walsh is a guy that reads everything, heavily analytical. He would go home and take the blame for 23 players. Charlie Kerner, when you ask him about what happened round 23, he went home, got his dog, went for a beer in his forest, lit a campfire and sat and sank 2 beers. That's a leader. He's going to think about a plan. He's not going to cry. So Waitering was a poor leader in juniors and he was overlooked as well. So I think the natural leader of the crew, Michael Clark, Charlie Kerner, he's a guy that he's got Walsh and Waitering around him. Maybe elevate Chera. Charlie Kerner would be my poster boy because pressure doesn't hurt him.
Okay, fair.
I like it.
I like the team. Yep.
Plus, Charlie and me could then have a bromance.
Always love that.
Well, there are our teams, ladies and gentlemen. So now it's the hard job. So now we get to the real business. So we're all going to have 1 pick each. That's 4, which means you guys and girls get 2. So we start with the back line. So any player, Terry, they're running across. You could have picked them. Anyone else could have picked them. Who, as the first person in our back half of the ground, are you saving?
With the first pick in the round 16, 2023 Carlton team selection draft, I'm selecting Jacob Waitering.
Well, that's easy. Hey, Terry's made it easy for you because usually Lekdog's the mean one. And they do have the hard job. Lekdog,
Yeah, I'm not here to throw curveballs.
Lekdog, who you throwing in?
Nick Newman. I think I say him every week, and I will continue to say him every week.
Is that just so he can give away a free when we're 60 ahead?
Well, that's part of the charm. It's part of his charm.
Part of the chat. Yeah, you won't say that if it's Port 5 points down with a minute ago and he kicks off and gives a 50.
Yeah, especially if Robbie Gray's playing.
Not anymore, mate. That's a good thing. And Ian, who are you picking?
I'll keep it simple as well. Give me Brody Kemp, please.
Brody Kemp. Okay, right.
What a good story that's been.
Yeah.
Oof, big time.
Development. Yeah.
I had written him off not because of him as a player, but because of us as a development club. And well, he's back.
I'm going Lockie Cowan.
Oh, wow.
Oh, massive.
Wow, that's
massive.
That's what it's all about.
I love it.
Hey, tell you what, these Tasmanians know that Pom protects them. Right? They know. So, chat, I am updating your list now, but you have lost Wheatering, Cowan, and Newman. Wheatering, Cowan, Newman. Who else did I lose? And Kemp. Kemp. So you've got a key defender, unless we're playing Kemp key defender. All yours. I can see a lot of Boyds.
I like that. No, Cowan, he's allowed in as long as they give him the license to take the game on, because that's what they need to be doing with him. Like, if anyone can rival, I think, Pommy's love for Cowan, it's potentially myself. I'll put my hand up for that. So having him in the side, I love, but just let him take the game on. It's what he does the best. I don't want him in as a little defender in the back pocket. Like, no. Ball in hand, please.
Wait, it looks like...
Based on these, thank God some Gov comments are coming through.
If Sard gets dropped for this show,
no, Sard's a lock. It looks like it's Sard and McGovern, though.
Okay, great.
I mean, Sard and Boyd, by my count, because Boyd won the thing. So that means we're going to have to play Kemp centre half back, Boyd back pocket.
So we got some bench spots. We got some bench spots.
We got some bench spots.
Now, chat, this is what it's about. We're picking it. We're picking it. Okay, so now we're on to the midfield. So, Terry, I'll start with you. I will update the thing. We've got Sard and Boyd have gone. So there you are, Terry. These lists are the names that you can play in the midfield.
Now I want to play George Hewitt.
Okay.
Ooh.
Big.
I like that from Terry. So George Hewitt, I'm guessing we're going to play him on the ball.
Yep.
And
right at the feet of the ruckman.
Unless Terry's going to throw us and say, let's play him on the wing and just totally fuck everything.
He didn't play good on the weekend.
He could. Hey, we did it before. We used to play burly midfielders. Mr. Lekdog, who are you going with?
I will select Adam Chera.
He's gone. Chera, you've got to play him on the ball with Mr. Hewitt.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. And Mr. Ian, who are you going with?
I want chaos. I feel like that's what I came in this show to do. So give me Pitternet in the ruck, please.
Oh.
Because if he's fit, he's the one we want. So he's number one.
You chose chaos, didn't you? You know what? Just to spite you, I was going to go J-Sauce as my starting ruck as well. And chat, I'm going to make it easy. I'm putting Doc on the wing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
Because I'm not having it because I always get the hate for chat and our decisions if the player isn't there. Right, and people think it's me picking the team, so I am not having Doc drop for this game under my name.
Left,
yeah. So we have got what is left. We have got Akers, Binns, Charlie Kerner, Chincotta, Cottrell, Cripps, Cunningham, Fogarty, J-Sauce, Kennedy, Martin, McGovern, Mackay, Owens, TDK, Walsh. So we need 2 midfielders.
Cripps, Walsh, Cunningham, Cunners.
Cunners is definitely in, I reckon. Walsh, Cripps, Walsh, Cripps.
Cripps, Walsh, Cunners.
Yeah, it looks like Walsh and Cripps. Well done, chat.
All right.
Very good, Pom.
Cop that, Blake.
Saving anarchy from happening.
It doesn't always happen, though. Like someone will hate this team selection and blame me. So now we're on to the forwards. So the forwards we've got left are Akers, Binns, Charlie Kerner, Chincotta, Cottrell, Cunningham, Fogarty, J-Sauce Kennedy, Martin, McGovern, Mackay, Owens, and TDK. Terry, who are you going with?
Charlie.
First week I haven't saved him. We'll go with Mr. Letdog. Who are you going with?
Jack Martin.
Ian?
I'll go Lockie Fogarty.
Ooh, I
think he's been very good.
I couldn't do it to myself. I'm not taking a risk. I don't care if you drop J-Sauce or you drop Mackay. Couldn't care, but Cunningham's definitely in there.
Beautiful.
I'm saving Cunningham. Pom's playing selfish now. Look, I want the players that I like in this team. We're making sure. So Fogarty's gone. Fogarty's
So
gone.
we've got like Cunningham, Mackay, Silvani, Kennedy,
Always.
other names, Owies.
Big one with Cunners that I want to throw out to everyone. What do we reckon moving forward is his like forward mid split? Because he's been getting a little bit of midfield run. Where do you kind of see it at his peak fitness, ready to go?
Peak fitness, he's going to be Dustin Martin, according to Pom. So what was his split? I think it was about 80 mid 24. So we'll say that. I actually think I could see him being more of a up the ground player, sort of wing, rotate through the mids, go forward. I'm signing him into a 10-year deal right now if I'm in charge. I don't know. Probably 70-30, I would say. Ideally, we get a proper couple of small forwards into the side as well.
Yeah.
Oh, chat, you went Owens and Mackay. You went safe. The forward line always picks itself. That's the easiest one. I always think the hard one is the other positions. But on the bench, we'll start with Terry. Akers, Binns, Chincotta, Cottrell, Jesus, Kennedy, McGovern, TDK. He's trying to be...
He's doing the maths. He's like, do I
he's trying to which maximizes
chaos reign supreme?
The first player I would pick out of all of those would be McGovern.
We do need, to be fair, that the back line is...
Shite.
Not shite, but it's pushing the height factor because Pom went Cowan. So Terry's bailed me out. McGovern's gone. So who are you going with, Mr. Lekdog?
I'm going to go Matty Kennedy.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
You know what? As soon as I saw Kennedy's name, I was like, this is a Lekdog pick.
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy, Mr. Ian, who are you going with?
Well, this could be peak chaos if I went this route, but I'm going down the Pommy. Let's hope I've sold it well enough to the listeners. I'll leave it up to them. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to save. I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go Blake Akers for a wing role because we've got a lot of rotation there, but we don't have our man up against his old side. I think we need Blakers out there.
Oh, dear. Right, well, chat.
Does he
You're
get
going to have
booed?
a hard job of a sub.
Yeah, of course he is. Even though they didn't want him, he's going to get booed. 100%.
Oh, this is tough, right?
Mate, I still boo Levi Casbolt, and I loved him, and he did, and we didn't want him.
Binns, Chincotta, Cottrell, Jesus, TDK.
I know exactly who you're going to pick.
I feel like I've got to pick TDK, though, for team structure. But I don't want to. I also want to put Binns in. Fuck it. JSOS, and I hate myself.
You could have picked a sub.
Tell you what,
I did not see that one coming. I did not see
tried.
that one coming. Yeah.
So, chat, you sub, and please do not go TDK for the sub. Is all I ask, chat. So you've got Binns, Chincotta, Cottrell, TDK for the sub. We've got a bench so far of McGovern, Kennedy, Akers, JSOS.
Who we want? We got one vote. Chincotta, Cottrell, TDK.
I knew Big Richard would go TDK as well. I knew he would do. Just
you can't tell chat what you can't tell chat. You need to position chat.
Chincotta's leading at the moment, by the way.
I did ask nicely as well. I was like, please don't
You
do
did.
it, chat.
Yeah, you did.
It looks like Chincotta might win it, which I don't mind. Chincotta as a sub. It would be Carlton taking the piss, wouldn't it, the most? Because it's kind of a guy who's quick.
Cotter's is getting a bit of a late runny.
Cotter's
Two
getting some late
Cotters,
love.
there's a chink. All right.
Tell you what, whoever picks Chincotta or Cottrell next is the sub. Someone new.
Next vote wins.
This always... Plowman.
Nunes.
Cotter's, Lockie Jack.
Cotters. Yeah.
Oof, Cotter's in. Yeah, he's getting a few now.
Yeah, we got there.
Right, so who is in that team? So Hewitt is in. Right, there you are, chat. I will make this look pretty, but your final team is, because I've done this on the fly, because My app has totally died, so off the top of my head, I can't tell you who has left the team.
Well, DeConing is fully suited up, ready on standby, doing all the warm-up in case Pitternet is not getting through, I tell you what.
But to be fair,
that's my own doing. My own doing. I love it too.
To be fair, we've got someone to blame for our injuries because I watched Terry's pre-teams and he was like, we've got no injuries. And literally,
we're like, oh, God, I read out the injury list. And I'm like, that's the best we've had it all year. And then literally someone comments, TDK and Pitto are out. Oh well,
mate. Welcome to the weird mythical world of Carlton Football Club. Right, where is this? So this has downloaded. There we are. You should see it on your screen. If I make us small, this is the final team, ladies and gentlemen. Come on.
I believe in you, Paul.
It's there. I promise. They are.
There we go.
So we got Boyd, Wheater, Newman, Cowan, Kemp, Sard, Walsh, Cripps, Doherty, Martin, Mackay, Cunningham, Fogarty, Kerner, Owens, Pitternet, Hewitt, Chera, McGovern, Kennedy, Akers, JSOS, which I believe is in Hewitt, sub, Pitternet, Cowan, out, Ed Kerner, Young, and
Jim Cotter.
Not bad.
Yep. It's not bad.
Hey, chat. You've done well there.
That was good.
Well, chat and esteemed host, make sure you go and subscribe to Blue Abroad. They've just hit 10K. Let's see if we can get 11K because that puts us 6K above Swoop Luke, which is where Collingwood need to be, 6K behind. That's fair. What's on this week, Terry?
What is on this week?
Because there's lots of new shows.
I'm doing a Carlton People recording tomorrow with a new guest who I'm really excited to do it with. The extended teams on tomorrow. The final teams with you and Lekdog on Friday. BA Saturday is back. Everyone's welcome, by the way, boys. Open invitation. It's so much fun. It's just banter. It's no football. And then, watch along, fan cams, show goes on. Yeah.
Make sure you go and sub to that, ladies and gentlemen. Lekdog, where can we find you this week? What are you up to, my friend?
Podcast for Jock Reynolds has already dropped. You can listen to that on jockreynolds.com.au or anywhere you get podcasts. Otherwise, Friday, I think, Pom, we're streaming the teams. And you can follow me at Lekdog on Twitter.
Yep, and he's going through a teenage angst phase at the moment, so he's quite entertaining. Ian,
wait till the off season. Wait till they fuck up this mid-season trade period, mate.
Ian, where can we find you, my friend?
At Navy Blue Corner on socials. If you want to find the pod through that on YouTube, on all of your podcast services, wherever it is. And yeah, got a match build up, which I'll be doing later this week. We normally do that every week. And then obviously a review episode, which is the big one. My partner in crime, Lockie, has decided to ditch us and go over to Europe. He's enjoying himself at the moment. So he'll be an infrequent guest with me for the rest of the season until he's back. I'm going to have some fun guests coming on it. So I'm sure all you guys will be able to feature at some stage through the rest of the season. So it's going to be a nice one to finish things off.
Very good podcast as well. All three gentlemen with me, brilliant podcasters. And you'll see me tomorrow. I am doing a live stream with Jad. You'll know Jad from Fan Cams on Blue Abroad. We are doing the Ashes first session. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that immensely. Friday we've got the members stream, and also I'm with Lekdog on Blue Abroad, and obviously on the weekend you'll see me and Terry on Saturday morning, and Sunday I'll be doing the game. So look after yourselves. Make sure you've hit the like button and subscribe. Been averaging 95 people watching. That's mental to watch four guys fuck about with a team. So look after yourselves. Hopefully we've got this run right, and see you next week.
Go Blues.
Go Blues.